Hello everyone, this is Karthikeya Yadav. I am a student of Lexicon Institute of Leadership and Excellence. I am making this video as a part of Corporate Research Learning and Internship Program. In this video, I am going to cover certain topics related with money laundering, such as what is money laundering, what is the purpose of money laundering, what are the laws for the prevention of money laundering, and the financial institution and the law enforcement agencies who take care of money laundering activities in India. So we will cover and we will start each topic and discuss each topic one by one. So the first thing we are going to start with, what is money laundering? Money laundering is the process used by criminals to hide, conceal, or disguise the nature, source, location, disposition, or movement of the proceeds of unlawful activities or any interest which anyone has in such proceeds. The act of conducting or causing to conduct two or more transactions with the intention of avoiding the duty to report such transactions is a recognized offence in terms of Section 64 of the FIC Act. Now we will see what is the purpose of money laundering. Money laundering serves several purposes, primarily to conceal the source, ownership, or destination of illicit funds. Here are some key reasons why individuals and organizations engage in money laundering. The first one is concealment of illegal activities. Money obtained through criminal activities such as drug trafficking, human trafficking, corruption, or frauds needs to be disguised to appear legitimate. Laundering helps criminals avoid detection and prosecution by hiding the illicit origin of the funds. The next is integration into the legitimate economy. Laundering enables criminals to integrate their illegally obtained funds into the legitimate financial system. This integration allows them to use the money for legal purposes such as investing in businesses or purchasing assets without raising suspicion. Next is avoiding taxes and regulations. Laundering can also be used to evade taxes or bypass regulatory requirements. By disguising the true nature of financial transactions, individuals and businesses can avoid paying taxes or complying with laws related to financial reporting, anti-money laundering, or know your customer regulations. The next is assets protection. Laundering can be a way to protect assets from seizure or confiscation by law enforcement or other authorities. By converting illicit funds into seemingly legitimate assets or investments, criminals can shield their wealth from legal action. And the last one is facilitating criminal enterprises. Laundering funds enables criminal organizations to sustain and expand their illicit activities. It provides them with the financial resources necessary to operate and grow their enterprises while minimizing the risk associated with handling large amount of illicit cash. So overall, money laundering is a complex and illegal process that serves the primary purpose of legitimizing illicit funds and facilitating various criminal or unethical activities. So now I'll talk about the law for anti-money laundering in India, which is PMLA. PMLA stands for Prevention of Money Laundering Act, and it came into force in 2002. It is a legal framework enacted to combat money laundering and related financial crimes in India. Now we'll talk about the objectives of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The first objective is preventing money laundering. The foremost objective of the PMLA is to prevent and curb the illegal process of money laundering, which involves concealing the origin of illicit funds to make them appear legitimate. The second is countering financing of terrorism. The Act also targets the financing of terrorism by prohibiting the use of financial systems for channeling funds to support terrorist activities. This objective aligns with global efforts to combat terrorism financing and enhance national security. The next is establishing legal framework. The PMLA establishes a comprehensive legal framework for detecting, investigating, and prosecuting money laundering offences. It defines money laundering as a criminal offence and provides mechanism for enforcing anti-money laundering measures. ensuring financial system integrity by imposing obligations on financial institutions, intermediaries, and professionals to implement robust know your customer and customer due diligence procedures. The PMLA aims to safeguard the integrity of the financial system and prevent it from being used for illicit purposes. Next is enhancing international cooperation. Another objective of the PMLA is to facilitate international cooperation in combating money laundering and terrorist financing. It enables the exchange of financial intelligence, cooperation in investigations, and mutual legal assistance between India and other countries. The last objective is confiscating proceeds of crime. The Act empowers authorities to confiscate proceeds of crime derived from money laundering activities. This measure not only serves as a deterrent to criminals but also helps in recovering illicitly acquired assets. Overall, the objectives of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act are aligned with global standards and best practices in combating financial crimes, protecting the integrity of the financial sector, and safeguarding national security interests. Now, I'll talk about the FATF. FATF stands for the Financial Action Task Force. It is an intergovernmental organization that designs and promotes policies and standards to combat financial crime. Recommendations created by Financial Action Task Force target money laundering, terrorist financing, and other threats to the global financial system. The FATF was created in 1989 at the behest of the G7 and is headquartered in Paris. The rise of the global economy and international trade has given rise to financial crimes such as money laundering. The Financial Action Task Force makes recommendations for combating financial crime, reviews members' policies and procedures, and seeks to increase acceptance of anti-money laundering regulations across the globe. Because money launderers and others alter their techniques to avoid apprehension, the FATF must update its recommendations every few years. A list of recommendations to combat terrorist financing was added in 2001, and in the latest update, published in 2012, the recommendations were expanded to target new threats, including financing the spread of weapons of mass destruction. Recommendations were also added to be clearer on transparency and corruption. As of 2021, there were 39 members of the Financial Action Task Force, including the United Nations and the World Bank. To become a member, a country must be considered strategically important, large population, large GDP, developed banking and insurance sector, etc. Must adhere to globally accepted financial standards and be a participant in other important international organizations. Once a member, a country or organization must endorse and support the most recent FATF recommendations, commit to being evaluated by other members, and work with FATF in the development of future recommendations. Now we will look at the objectives of the FATF. So the first objective is setting international standards. One of the primary objectives of the FATF is to set international standards and policies to combat money laundering and terrorist financing. These standards, known as the FATF recommendations, provide guidance to countries on implementing effective measures to address these threats. The second is evaluating and monitoring compliance. The FATF evaluates and monitors the implementation of its recommendations by member countries and jurisdictions through a peer review process called mutual evaluations. This process assesses the adequacy and effectiveness of countries' AML regimes and identifies areas for improvement. The next is promoting global cooperation. The FATF fosters global cooperation among countries, international organizations, and private sector entities to strengthen the fight against money laundering and terrorist financing. It encourages information sharing, collaboration on investigations, and coordination of efforts to disrupt illicit financial flows. The next is identifying emerging risks. The FATF continuously monitors evolving threats and vulnerability in the financial system, including new technologies and trends used by criminals to launder money or finance terrorism. It publishes report and guidance to help stakeholders stay informed and adapt their AML CFT measures accordingly. Capacity building. Another objective of the FATF is to support capacity building in member and non-member countries by providing training, technical assistance, and best practices. This helps countries improve their AML CFT frameworks, enhance regulatory compliance, and strengthen law enforcement capabilities. The next is encouraging policy development. The FATF encourages countries to develop and implement comprehensive national policies and strategies to combat money laundering and terrorist financing. This includes establishing legal frameworks, regulatory regimes, and institutional frameworks that align with international standards. The next is enhancing transparency and accountability. Through its evaluations, reports, and public statements, the FATF promotes transparency and accountability in AML CFT efforts. It highlights countries' progress in addressing deficiencies, identifies areas of concern, and encourages stakeholders to take corrective actions. Overall, the objectives of the FATF are focused on promoting global financial integrity, preventing illicit financial activities, and strengthening the resilience of the international financial system against money laundering and terrorist financing threats. Now, I'll talk about the ED, that is Enforcement Directorate. It is a domestic law enforcement and economic intelligence agency in India. It is tasked with enforcing economic laws and combating economic crimes. It operates under the Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance, Government of India. When did the ED come into being? The ED originated as an enforcement unit on May 1st, 1956, under the Department of Economic Affairs, handling exchange control law violations. Over the years, it transitioned through legislative changes such as the repeal of Foreign Exchange Regulation Act 1947 and the introduction of Foreign Exchange Management Act in 2000. The enactment of PMLA in 2002 further strengthened the ED's role in addressing money laundering, aligning its function with international standards. On March 11, 2011, the ED underwent significant restructuring, expanding its workforce to 2,064 officers, staff from 758 and increasing its offices from 21 to 49 across India. Now I'll talk about the role of ED. The Enforcement Directorate plays a crucial role in India's legal framework, particularly concerning financial crimes and economic offences. Here are the primary roles and responsibilities of the Enforcement Directorate. First is enforcing economic laws. The ED is responsible for enforcing various economic laws and regulations in India, with a particular focus on offences related to money laundering, foreign exchange violations, and economic frauds. It operates under the provision of Prevention of Money Laundering Act, Foreign Exchange Management Act, and other relevant statutes. The second is investigating money laundering. One of the key functions of the ED is to investigate cases of money laundering and related financial crimes. This includes identifying individuals or entities involved in money laundering activities, tracing the flow of illicit funds, and gathering evidences to prosecute offenders. The next is confiscating proceeds of crime. The ED has the authority to confiscate proceeds of crime derived from money laundering activities. This may involve seizing assets, properties, or funds that are determined to be linked to illicit financial transactions or economic offences. The next is conducting searches and seizures. The Enforcement Directorate has the power to conduct searches and seizures as part of its investigations into economic crimes. This enables the ED to gather relevant documents, electronic evidence, and other materials that are crucial for building a case against alleged offenders. And the last point is prosecution and adjudication. The ED is involved in the prosecution and adjudication of cases related to money laundering and economic offences. It works closely with law enforcement agencies, regulatory authorities, and judicial bodies to pursue legal action against individuals or entities involved in financial wrongdoing. Overall, the Enforcement Directorate plays a critical role in safeguarding India's financial integrity, combating money laundering, ensuring compliance with economic laws and regulations. Its action contribute to maintaining a transparent and accountable economic environment conducive to legitimate business activities. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching this video.